All right. So we ended with this yesterday. We talked about how the challenge of this is in thinking differently, right? So you're rejecting these ideas of recognizable imagery and symbols, and this is going to feel very hard. Your brain is used to making associations and putting symbolism and putting meaning into things. And it's not that it's not going to have meaning, but the meaning is just kind of on a totally different level than how you're used to thinking, right? Making sense? Okay. Does it make sense why sometimes it might be easier to analyze songs that you don't like, right? So if you choose a song for this project, you are not endorsing the song as if you're saying, hey, this is a great song that I think you should all listen to for fun, but I want you to pick a song that resonates with you in a visual sense. So whatever you feel like you can get the strongest visuals out of, that's the song that you should pick, okay? We talked about avoiding flat areas of color by always painting with more than one color at a time, and then using techniques such as dry brushing to emphasize the texture. So there's not going to be any flat areas in any sense of that term unless there is a particularly, I'm going to use air quotes, flat part of your song. Does that make sense? Okay, moving on. So you are going to, can somebody open the door, please? You're going to establish a dominant focal point. We talked about directing the viewer's eye through things like directional lines, asymmetrical balance, using rhythm, okay, in the musical sense and in the visual sense. And then this is the important part here. This is what we're here for. We're going to translate one part of the design at a time, just like we did in the musical analysis sheets where it kind of broke it down for you in that structure. And you're going to translate those parts into your thumbnail sketches. So you can pick how one part of the music translates into one part of the drawing. Maybe the melody could be the line, for example. Volume could be represented visually by things like depth or contrast or value, for example. Instruments and how instruments kind of layer over each other could be represented by visual elements like texture. That's one way to do it. You may determine other ways that make more sense logically to you. It's all about how you want to put those two senses together in a way that you can explain, that makes logical sense the way you explain it. You all with me? Okay, so here is, it says homework, but you're going to do it right now during class. Are you all watching? You're going to choose the song that you feel that you have analyzed most thoroughly. Like I said, choose the one that resonates with the strongest visuals for you, okay? You don't have to like the song. You don't have to, like I said, endorse it as if it is something cool to listen to for fun. You're going to translate your analysis notes into visual elements, so line shapes, colors, textures, and values. And you're going to use that translation of those visual elements to create 5 thumbnail sketches or more, however many it takes you, at least 5, that capture the main characteristics of the song as a visual composition, okay? Now, here's a little extra option here. Some people like this. You can do either one composition, meaning all on one board, all within one frame, or you can do a diptych, a triptych, a cluster, a series, or something like that. So if your song has multiple parts that feel like distinct sections to you, and you don't feel like you want to combine that all into the same kind of area of your composition, you can do something like this, where you break up that composition into multiple pieces, okay? So this would be like a triptych or a cluster. This would be a diptych. Diptych means 2. You can choose a composition that is any dimension that you want. So if it makes sense for you to have it be more square, that's fine. If it makes sense for you to have it be more rectangular, you can pick a really skinny rectangle or a wider rectangle. However compositionally makes more sense to you with your song, that's what you should be picking, okay? And then we are going to, the base for this painting is going to be a piece of masonite, and we're going to cut that for you today, ideally today, or tomorrow at the latest, okay? But we can cut it into whatever size and shape you want. If it makes more sense for you to have a circle, you can have a circle. If it makes more sense for you to have, like I said, a rectangle or a series of rectangles, you can do that. If it makes more sense for you to have some other shape, we can do that. You have flexibility to the extent that the jigsaw can cut through the masonite, okay? I am not a master carpenter, so don't make it too complicated, but you have flexibility and options there, okay? Let me show you one finished example. This is what I would consider to be a particularly strong example. So it uses a lot of textures, and not just the same textures, but different textures. There's some really coarse texture. There's some finer texture. There are some very three-dimensional elements. So these are like twisted paper towels and different papers that actually come up off the canvas and kind of touch down and then kind of weave with each other and go back down. There are some kind of spirally repetitive parts. There's these kind of ribbon-like parts that are also very dimensional. They come up off the canvas. Lots of dry brushing. You can see there's highlights that are emphasized with some lighter tints of colors. And then the shadows are painted darker to make the shadows even deeper. And then the color in this is used really purposefully. It's really well balanced. There's repetition of color with some dominant areas and some more subtle areas. We see the color located in different parts of the canvas so that it feels like it repeats and like it relates and like it balances. So I would look to this as a particularly strong example. Pieces and techniques that were used in this may or may not resonate with you or with the song that you choose, but hopefully this gives you some sense of potential and kind of the level that you are working towards. I think the color in this one particularly is really sophisticated, how they kind of layered the colors together. You can see the textures and the surfaces are really kind of popped out. There is nothing flat about this. And then even the textures that are there are kind of played up and exaggerated and really emphasized. Does that make sense? What questions do you guys have? Okay, so in a perfect world, like I said, we would be cutting your masonite today so that I can show you tomorrow some relief building techniques to start building up this structure, and then you could actually start building up your structure tomorrow, okay? When we cut the masonite, the first thing we're gonna have to do with it is coat both sides with like a glue water solution and then let that dry. So if we can cut your masonite today and then you can coat it right away, that would give you the best shot at being able to actually build your relief tomorrow. If we can't cut your masonite until tomorrow, then you won't be able to build your relief until Monday because you have to let that glue dry. Does that make sense? Questions?